Hi guys, this is Warpiglet. This video is about understanding last shelter map coordinates. Coordinates are vital in this game, particularly to coordinate the layout of a hive and placement of bases, and in times of war when telling a player to get to a specific spot on a map. The problem arises because a base occupies 4 tiles, and therefore has 4 coordinates. But which one is the relevant one? This is why alliances struggle to get bases lined up properly. The base in worldview is a diamond shape essentially, a square rotated by 45 degrees. It is that bottom square seen when hovering in teleport mode, where the 4 feet of the base light up green or red. That bottom square of the diamond that represents the relevant coordinate. Now the other squares do have coordinates, but it makes sense to use the bottom one because that's the most prominent and visible at the front and so easiest to place in relation to other tiles on the ground. If everybody works off that mindset, it makes the game a lot easier. Let's take a closer look. An example is here where an attempt to make a line of bases fails as one sets a tile out of position. This could well have been down to interpreting the coordinates wrong. Now in a strategic base setup, we have 3 bases here with a 1 tile gap between them, which prevents an enemy base teleporting in. So here's our base with its 4 green squares lit up beneath. Now first to show that red square lights up to indicate the base cannot be placed between the current bases. Now as I am in this alliance and need to complete this alliance setup, we can see that this is the correct position to land at. It's that bottom square on this coordinate of 399,440, which we must aim at. We now see one of the game's problems. You can see the mismatch between the XY coordinate overlay and what we're aiming at. The overlay, shown here, shows 398,439, but that is not what we previously looked at or are currently hovering over. That overlay is not reflecting the XY position of what you're trying to do, but where the map is currently scrolled to. This is illustrated when I move the hovering base. The overlay coordinates don't change until the map shifts. So you can see how people get confused and misplace buildings. Again, if I select the ground at where we want to plant the base, but then move the map around, you can see how the selection and the overlay coordinates don't match. So, to accurately place your base, select the coordinates you were given and see the selection on the ground. Then ensure you're double checking the selection coordinates and ignore the overlay coordinates and press on the teleport button. So having established there's a degree of confusion and accuracy issues with coordinates looking at the state map, we can remedy this by looking to a spreadsheet. Here we have a prepared spreadsheet that represents a last shelter state map. This is a vast spreadsheet which represents a whole state. So what we have are the 0 to 1200 across both X and Y axes. Therefore, the whole of your state could be mapped out onto this spreadsheet. Each of these cells on the spreadsheet represents a tile in the game on the state map. Therefore, I select this one, X-axis 2, Y-axis 1197. That tile correspondingly can be found in the game. So from a spreadsheet point of view, the rows down the side, I have created a separate numbering system to equate to the coordinates within the game. So row 5 here is actually 2 on the x-axis, and G, for example, is 1196. You could put bases, tiles, zombies if you wish, whichever, and represent them in a map. So this presents a great way to plan a hive formation, for example. So let's see how that might work. Let's establish that a base, be it a farm or main, takes 4 tiles. We know that. So when you select your base in the game and you teleport, for example, As it hovers over the ground, you'll see 4 squares light up underneath, and it'll only place when all 4 squares are green. So we know a base takes 4 squares. An RSS tile takes 1. So here we are going to represent a base with crimson, and now on the spreadsheet we have a base. So what's its coordinate? We have x of 10 and y of 1187. And we're looking in the spreadsheet, this bottom left square. Now the difference between the game and this spreadsheet is the rotation of 45 degrees. So in the game, when you zoom out of the state map, you see it's kind of at 45 degrees rather than square on. So that means that this left corner, top left corner of this spreadsheet effectively needs to be pointing west. And that is a 45 degree rotation. So I'll show you later where, because this software, spreadsheet software, they don't let you rotate by 45 degrees because why would you? So what do we do in our planning once we've got things laid out? We can take a screenshot, convert it to PDF or whatever, and then in other software you can rotate it by 45 degrees to then present to your players or on a website, and then they grasp how the mapping works. So imagine you wanted to achieve this formation of bases with 1 tile gap. You need to ensure that everybody is sitting on that 10x coordinate line. And for people to achieve that, they all need to be on the same page and understand how to read the coordinates and then plant them. This brings up a concern we've encountered, whereby players have placed a base and it's off kilter like this. And then we say, oh, you've got to move that base in line. Now, disregarding confusions with coordinates at this point, it seems, whether it's down to the small screens of the phones that people play on, or whether the game is somehow limiting, to get that base to move 1 tile is virtually impossible. It's not to say it can't be done, but it's difficult, and we find the base snaps back. So when you go to advanced teleport and try and say, okay, now go to x10 rather than x9, it snaps back to where it was. So don't waste time and advanced teleports. You're going to have players who don't have so much in diamonds. The best solution at this point, if this needs putting in line, is to spend 500 on a random teleport. That'll send them away elsewhere completely. Then they spend the 2000 on the advanced to come back into the right coordinate of 10, 11, 84. So if we take this further and demonstrate how you can create a nice barrier of RSS tiles. Now, of course, let's just go with food resource. You want to prevent teleporting, so you're placing RSS a tile apart, and you're doing this on all sides. If we now take this out, you could go deep with rows, for example, say iron on the first row, then lumber, then oil, and then food, whichever way you want to do this. But that creates distance from your bases, so enemies that might want to port in, they can only port in to here now, and let's represent them with pink. They now have to travel a bit of distance, and you've now got time to react, whether it's shielding up or attacking back. Now bear in mind, if you are to download a copy of this sheet for yourself, which you're very welcome to, link at the bottom of the video, but also available on the lssurvivalgroup.com website in the resources section. It's a big spreadsheet because it's 1200 and a bit rows by the same in columns. So to view this through, for example, Google Sheets on your phone, it's slow. So the best thing to do if you're doing a Hive plan or something for Doomsday is to work out your section of the state map. Let's say you take 100 tiles by 100 tiles as an area. You can then delete the columns and rows that are not relevant for that plan. That cuts down the spreadsheet size and makes it much more usable. If we scroll to that corner, you will see the coordinates are 0 on the x-axis and 1200 on the y-axis. So you can select that on the spreadsheet and see how it matches up. Everything, therefore, can be mapped onto a spreadsheet. So, for example, an RSS tile, whatever. But 1186 can be seen on a cell on the spreadsheet and represented accordingly. Putting bases in makes more sense. So 18x and 1191y, can find that on the spreadsheet and take up the 4 cells required to represent a base. If we flip to our state spreadsheet for this aligned center, you can see by picking on Jade and Lynn, X 1099, Y 1171 for this Guardian Fortress. You should see that on the spreadsheet on the top left of the line center. It should match up. And to make that relative, we just scroll over to the left and find the bases along the edge. You will see 4 red squares representing my base at 1095, 1179. And that coordinate maps to that bottom left square on the spreadsheet of the 4 red cells. So you see, therefore, how useful using the spreadsheet can be for planning.
War Piglet likes to be tickled behind the ears. The best way to do that is to like his videos and subscribe. It is incentive for War Piglet to keep making more videos to help you out. Thanks.
War Piglet.